Hey
Nice.
everyone, I am Paolo, CTO at Contentful, and today we are going to talk about generative AI, especially related to graphical aspect like illustration or publishing, generating graphics, and so on. And this is why today we have here Marten Kuipers from Depth Agency. And Depth is a successful digital agency, which is also Contentful Gold partner. Marten, glad to have you here today.
Nice to be here. Thanks.
Cool. And maybe so everyone can get to know you, you can share something about your background and what you're currently doing at Depth so everyone can get to know you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Martin. I'm living and working in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, working for Depth Agency. You already said it. It's a digital agency with agencies of offices all across the world. And what we're basically doing is a full service digital approach. So from campaigning till websites, till apps, till AI even. Yeah. So, and I'm working there for 5 years now. Before that, I worked at smaller agencies, little studios as well. And have a little bit of graphic design background. But at a certain point, I noticed like, okay, I should go with that digital flow. And so now I'm designing websites, apps. I'm a designer and art director at Depth at the moment. And yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
Cool, perfect. Yeah, and at Contentful, obviously, we are a big fan of the work that is done at Depth. And I've been following you on LinkedIn and also fan of your personal work. And yeah, let's get into the topic of generative AI. And maybe can you tell something about your story, how you became aware of the topic? Somehow you've been early on the trend. I remember seeing some of your posts before there was this big wave of news coming out from the field. So how did you get to know that it existed and how you got yourself involved as a user and creator in this community?
Yeah, of course. So it's a long story, but I'll keep it short. Sure. So it's, I think, a year ago already that I noticed that tools like Midjourney and DALL-E were existing. And a friend of me told me like, okay, maybe Martin, you should go into this because as a designer, I think it's really nice to play with this. And I was a bit skeptical. I thought, oh, AI, maybe that's hard to learn and it's a bit complex. And then I tried to make an account on Midjourney, and that was my first touch with AI. And what I really like about it in general, also 1 year ago, is that you can create everything and anything you want within a few seconds. And that's, of course, like something where you dream of as a child or whatever. But now it's possible. And so the sky is the limit. That's also really fun. And yeah, so it started really as a hobby. So I played around with it. I tried multiple tools, tried to find the best way how to work with these tooling. And yeah, now we are a bit further. So I'm already using it in my work as well, but we will talk about that later on. Yeah. So yeah, it's really nice to get in that topic because it sounded really complex to me, but in the end, it was pretty simple to learn, easy to learn. Really low key. Even my mother understands how it works now. So that says enough, I think.
Yeah. I also remember receiving the invitation to Midjourney, and I'm not graphically well versed, very far from what my skill set is, and I was also impressed by the fact that again you can reach for some of the things that you want to achieve very easily and in a very immediate sort of experience. And yeah, maybe now we talked a bit about how you approach the topic, and where do you think you stay today from the point of view of personal use of AI? And also you mentioned a bit, already using it also on the profession. Where do you feel in the spectrum, beginner trying out versus feeling now, part of this movement? Where do you stand?
Now that's an interesting question because I still feel like I'm a beginner. I'm already working a year in it and I'm working every day in it, but because there are so many new tools, new features coming every day, I'm every time I think like, oh my God, I don't know anything yet because it's going so fast. And but still, of course, like the basics, like working with prompts and how the machine works a bit. So you have to be careful with that. And yeah, what I said, it started as a hobby. So I tried to play around with creating nice imagery of fashion, of architecture, of sneakers, every kind of subject. But then, of course, like Dept, the company I work for, found out that I was really into AI, and they said, okay, maybe we can use it in projects as well. So, and then I got asked for a few things, and now I'm doing it also in my own projects. And I think there's a difference between how I use it in a personal level and how I use it on a work level. Personal level is, of course, like you can do way more artistic things. You can literally the sky's the limit, and you can do whatever you want, just trying things you need. But also, you're open for surprises. So when AI doesn't give you the output you were aiming for, that's not a big problem. But at work, of course, you're looking for something specific within a short time frame, and that means that you have to be really picky on which prompt you need, and also which tool you want to use for your output. And so that's a different way of work also, because it has to be way more realistic most of the times. So if I need photography, for example, then I want to real photos of real people. And yeah, if I do it as a hobby, that doesn't matter, of course. So it takes a bit longer, I can say, when I have to use it for work, because I'm looking for something specific. It's harder to find it then.
Yeah, so you're saying at work you are more working with an outcome in mind, and somehow how to get close to that outcome. And from a personal point of view, instead, you're more looking on setting yourself on a path and finding out what this path needs to discover, and somehow welcome the unexpected rather than looking for control. And this is something very interesting for what we will touch on later. And you were talking about applying already generative AI at work, and maybe these projects are ongoing, so you cannot disclose entirely what is happening, but maybe you can say something regarding the type of work that is currently being applied to, or anything that you can disclose there.
Yeah, of course, I can tell something about that. Like I think in general, at Dept, we use lots of AI, lots of various AI, so ChatGPT and all those kind of tooling we are using as well. But for me as a designer, I mostly use it for creating mood boards or style boards, those kind of things. So setting up a style where you normally would use Google or have to Photoshop lots of things yourself. Now it's really easy to create exactly the style you want. So that helps me. But also, for example, to brief a photographer or to brief a 3D designer, you can look for some imagery, and you can have exactly the angles and perspectives you need. You can find it easily. Normally, it takes a lot of time to find those references, and now it's really easy to use AI for that. And lately, I used it even in a project as placeholder content. So we're going to work with a photographer, but it will be later on in the project. So we needed some photos as placeholder, and normally there are a few options. You could go for stock photography, but that's also it feels stocky. It's too perfect. You could go for looking on Google, or looking for photography on competitors' websites. That's also a bit tricky with clients. So we had to find another way to come up with content, and this was the perfect way to do it. So within 1 hour, I had 20 images I could use within the design I was creating, and so that helps. It's a really practical way. So it's not the final output, because I really believe in the combination between the man and the machine, basically. But as part of your process, I really believe it's really helps us as designers.
This is so insightful to learn that, for example, you're using it for mood boards and somehow anticipating something of the outcomes that you will want to do. So using it as a exemplifying mechanism to really show where you want to get to, which sort of thing is very interesting. It was one of the things that I wanted to understand with having this conversation. And maybe going back to your work with AI, I remember what impressed me about your Midjourney social stream was that it was the first time that somehow I realized that this sort of tools could actually be used professionally? Because usually what you see on the Midjourney streams is something very artistic that tend to surprise you and looks like out of this world. But I remember seeing some of the work that you just mentioned around sneakers and product design, and somehow it really looked like something that had a lot of novelty aspects, but also that can really be connected back to the language of what we usually see in illustration, publications, and so on. So maybe, can you elaborate a bit more about, how do you see AI applied that way? Like, what you attempt to achieve, and what's your point of view in playing with this tool in this different way from what usually the mainstream Midjourney artists do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think lots of people who are playing with AI are also really into sci-fi and those kind of topics.
Very connected.
It's the same people, but I'm not. I'm not really a sci-fi fan. So I'm always designing more realistic things, and so I was immediately thinking more realistic. I thought, okay, what if we could really, like, my goal with AI is to create something which doesn't look like AI anymore. So what you are basically saying, that's my goal. So you can't see if it's photography or 3D or AI, you can't see it anymore. That's what my goal. Every time I'm creating something, I want to achieve that. And so I don't want to have the typical AI look and feel of artist, kind of cyberpunk, futuristic kind of little things. So I thought, okay, what if we have to make a sneaker? Is that possible? And how good will the Nike logo will be, and the sole and the laces, etc. So for me, that was really important, and to look at those details. And sometimes I created a sneaker, and the laces were not good enough yet. So I uploaded it to DALL-E, and I create new laces all the time. So I got the perfect sneaker. So you didn't recognize it anymore. It was created with AI. So I really like that, also because I'm a really sneaker addict. So I had to do something with that. But also with other things, with products, with architecture, I was really looking for something which is more realistic, which we also could use as content for within our company for the designs we creating. So more in a practical way. I'm doing lots of e-commerce at Depth. So I thought, okay, what if we would use it for that? And like, of course, you can't have then a Star Wars kind of image then. So you need something more like connected to the brand, etc. So I was always looking for that kind of way. And now I'm doing lately, like since a few weeks, I'm trying to do more with like the climate change and those kind of topics. So how that work with AI, normally you have to Photoshop a lot for that. And now, for example, yesterday I created a polar bear in the desert. And that was like within 5 minutes it was done. And so it says a lot. You can add a story to it, and it's fun to play with that. And of course, I think we come later to that topic, but I really believe in crafts and in people and in etc. So I don't think it will take over us. But I do think it's nice to come up really quick with a sketch, with an idea, with like your visual imagination, how I always call it. So yeah, that's a long answer to your short question.
I mean, that's perfect. And actually, I think this makes the moment very appropriate to actually look at some of your work, so we can see your style, what you created, and how you're using AI. So yeah, if you could share your screen, that would be great.
Yes. So you see my screen, right?
Yes. Wow. 19,000 images. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought maybe good, like, of course I will show some imagery, but I think it's good to mention this as well. Like I created 19K in 10 months only. Like I would never have done that without AI. So it's really fun to create so much within a short time frame. And even I did a question on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, like how many images everyone created. Some people even created 100,000 in 10 months. So that's crazy. And of course, lots of these images are bad because people are looking for a certain image and they have to refine it and iterate on it, and then they will find the perfect image. But it's interesting, I think, to see that you can do so many things within a short time frame. But I will show some imagery. I also wanted to show this one because this was very first AI image. This was exactly 1 year ago, I think, in the meantime. Yeah, 11 months. And this, was trying to create a Nike sneaker, but that was not possible. It didn't get what I want, and you can recognize the Nike logo, but that's it. So if you see where we're coming from 1 year ago and where we are now, that's a big change, and that's also really interesting. Like, where are we when it? Yeah, I don't know, in 2024 and 2025. So that's interesting to imagine. And here you can see that contrast as well. I found this image on the internet, and in the top you see Midjourney version 1, and in the bottom you see Midjourney version 5.
So this is the evolution of the different. Probably is the same prompt across different generations.
Same prompt across yeah, exactly. And it's a big, especially between version 3 and version 5, a lot happened. And so that's really interesting to see. It's also a bit scary because it becomes really realistic nowadays. But so a lot happened since then. And I created a lot. Like, this was one of my first big set of imagery, and this went even a little viral, I could say, within all the sneaker blogs, because this was, I think, 8 months ago. So at that time, it was all really new. Not that much people were into AI yet. And I got lots of publicity with this. And I already noticed at that time, like, okay, this is really something new. This is not a gimmick, but this is not, this is more like, I don't know, changing the game a bit within our industry. Yeah. And just trying to combine ice cream and Nike sneakers and playing around with that. And then from that moment, I tried to do more with sneakers and trying to do more with materials. I really like that as well. And creating materials and sneakers together, which are never the case in real life, but now everything is possible, of course. And
these are amazing, and are exactly what I was referring to. Is like, it looks very familiar from the point of view. On one side, it's like, it looks like product design, but there are also so many elements of novelty and things that haven't been seen before. That's what I found so intriguing.
Yeah. So and even this is already old again. Like, if you would do this again with the same prompts, you would even get better results probably. So Midjourney is continually evolving. So it's interesting to see how it improves in the past months. And for example, this is also AI, all of them. And that already looks again more realistic than the previous ones. And so there's a lot possible now. But also you can do lots of things, different things with products, not only sneakers, of course. So I created these ones, these vacuum cleaners. I created more fashionated people and products, but also more collage kind of vibe. The old school graphic design is really easy to recreate it now. Of course, it could take a while before you get the results you want, but I think that's what I like really about Midjourney, because you probably wonder, like, why do I like Midjourney more than all the other tooling? It's really various in terms of output. You can create literally every kind of style with it, in my opinion, and so that's really what I like. So also this kind of collage, surrealistic vibes, and but also these kind of things. This is what I created with blend mode. Here I was blending 5 images with each other, and you got these kind of results. And you can even add your own designs to it, what I'm also doing. So this is only my design, but then created in Adobe Illustrator and added a prompt to it, like chrome and metallic and reflecting. And I got these kind of weird effects from my illustration.
Okay, so it's a blend of tool. In this case, it's not purely AI, but it's your input from...
Yeah, it's a blend of tooling as well. So it's So these ones as well, it's all multiple tooling. And I think that makes it interesting also for me as a designer. Like, okay, you can use your own designs and combine that with AI. That you get pretty interesting results. And you can create crazy patterns like these ones. And for example, this one I created a while ago, and we were looking for a brand identity for an internal event at Depth, and we thought, okay, what could we create a brand identity with only AI visuals? And So we created this whole set where we used AI like as the base for the brand identity. We added a little fun to it, and that was it. And of course, like it's not as good as a normal brand identity, which is created by a branding agency, but it's interesting to see that it already looks kind of realistic, like it could have been done by an agency, and that's fun. But also create way more realistic things. Here I was putting Amsterdam and the beach together. Like if you've been to Amsterdam, you never saw the beach probably, but here I try to combine those two together. So Amsterdam and beach. And it's pretty easily to do it now. Like this was not possible, I think, half a year ago or a few months ago. But with the new version of version 5 Midjourney, it's now possible to create this really easily. Also people. So this is all AI. And this makes it interesting, right? Because this is what you could use as content for your website or whatever. And as placeholder maybe, but even as final content. Because the details are already really good, and you really see the expression on the face, you see the details of the clothing, the textures, etc. So yeah, I think this is a huge improvement in terms of like where we're coming from 1 year ago.
It's amazing, and of course, variety. It's amazing the variety of results. Like we went from, like you've seen, brand identity on the abstract theme and just colors and shapes to the photorealistic rendering of a place, of people. Just amazing variety. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. And of course, there are some things which could improve, and maybe we can talk about it after this, about like the downside of AI. But I think, yeah, if it keeps moving on to this direction, and I think it will be better and better in the upcoming months and year. Also creating these kind of things, and here you already see some things which are weird, like in the left image in the top, you see a woman like floating without legs. And so of course there are some weird things happening as well, but for these images it was okay, because I want to create something artistic with plastic waste in the ocean, and I want to do something with that. But yeah, of course, when you want to use it as final imagery, it has to be more perfect. And this is also part of that. I did this together with another AI addict, basically, and we created this together. But also, like, yeah, these kind of things are possible now. And what I really like is, of course, to create a bit surrealistic things. So on the left, you see the Mercedes car together with like the blowing inflatable material. That's what's, of course, the nice thing to do, because I could have put the Mercedes car only as a prompt, but then you would get just a car, and then I don't know, people will say it's a photo, and then I don't know, then the fun fact is gone. So you want to do something special with it. And about fun, speaking about fun, of course, I think the whole world of AI went on this, because when Trump announced his possible arrest, everyone was creating imagery with him and handcuffs on and him in the jail, etc. And I was trying to do something else as well with that, but then a bit different, like with imagery which could have been possible in the past months before his arrest, and some imagery which really reflecting his life a bit. And not everyone will love this when I'm showing this, but yeah, I had to do it.
I love the creativity, and like you say, going on a theme that was dealt with somehow mainstream imaginary to something that is more sophisticated as a concept. Like it's and
it works really good with Donald Trump, because the more imagery there's available on the internet about one person, the easier it is to create AI with it. So and Donald Trump is, of course, there are a lot of images of him, so it's really easy to create realistic photographs for it. And so I had some fun with that.
Hello, I'm an example of a Midjourney generated image transformed into a video with the ID. Thanks to Marten.
Yeah, so I wanted to show this one because I created this image in Midjourney, used a different tool to animate his mouth and face, but also to put audio in there and his voice. The tool is called DID. And I combined those tools together, so Midjourney and DID. And then you can create these kind of things. And of course, we still see that things are off and it's not realistic enough, but I really believe this is the future. So where we really combine everything together. So audio, voice, imagery, and it really like feels more realistic. And I think this is the start. Lots of tooling already trying to do things with that. Also, I saw Google and Meta invested a lot in motion and audio, those kind of topics. So yeah, now we are really like, most of the times you see only an image or only a little bit of audio, but I think when you put all those things together, that's scary, of course, because then fake news and all those topics are really, it's really easy to create fake news then, but I see also the optimistic part of it. As I said, with imagery, you can create easily things what you need for your project or just as a hobby. But if you can create these full videos with voice, audio, etc., everything together, yeah, that's game changing.
Yeah, and there is so much of your work that really, shows the positive aspect of what can be, the creative aspect of these and expanding possibilities. Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's just amazing to see these. And I mean, you already mentioned it here and there, but going back on the topic of in the context of the processes and workflows of your team at Depth and the toolchain, where do you find currently generative AI can be plugged in and used? And you talked, for example, about mood boards, but where else currently, where do you try to use it, and how does it insert in the pre-existing workflows that you and your team are doing?
Yeah, so of course, I'm looking from a designer perspective.
Sure.
So, but there are lots of perspectives. So there's a copywriter perspective, for example, or a front-end developer perspective. I know from colleagues that they are using ChatGPT to write code for some little small easy things. A colleague of mine is using it for, like, instead of lorem ipsum, we have some placeholder copy. But just it's just as easy as generate lorem ipsum. So this is the new lorem ipsum kind of. Yeah. So in that kind of workflow, it's really handy, and also I see it at strategists at our company, which are using it sometimes to create a good user story or something, or write something about a certain persona or whatever, or UX designer are using that. So there are lots of different ways how you can use it, but I think in any case, it's just part of the process. So it's just, I don't see it yet as a final product. I think we always need human in there. Also, if we want to create something personalized based on the topic or the brand or the client, yeah, then humans should be involved still. And also to create something unique. You don't forget that lots of AI tooling are looking at the past, but they don't look at the future. And of course, we as designers and as people who are working in digital field want to create something for the future. So it wouldn't work if you do always everything based on the past, right? And so I think it's part of the process. I sometimes see it as a really good intern, which is always there, a 24/7 intern, and which is really cheap, but also delivers lots of work within a short time frame. So the perfect intern, and I think that goes for every kind of field and every kind of topic, and so yeah, I got lots of questions from people like, oh yeah, do you think people like will still have that job after like this whole AI booming thing? But I believe yes. I think if you really want to create outstanding, unique work, and then you use AI just as a tool, just like you use After Effects or Figma or like every kind of tool you use normally in your process, AI is just another tool to create something with, but it's not your final output. And of course, it could be. Sometimes you see examples on the internet where they use AI as, for example, a full video created with AI. But I don't know. I don't know. I see more worth in using it as part of your process instead of as a final product. And that's my opinion.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, I know in this call it will come across how ultimately all creativity comes really from you, and it's not the tool. Like, are things that you created, that you refined to get to the results that we've seen. And maybe to stay a bit on the theme, what do you think are some of the trade-offs? Like you say, it's not a replacing factor about AI, but it changes some trade-offs. And again, you've seen as an example, well, if I need to give a prototype or a reference thinking framework, okay, now you do it through AI. What are other places where you say the balance change, something that used to be taking time and maybe was expensive in terms of resources invested, or just was limiting from the point of view you could only think about a small set of things, and now you can think wider? Where do you think the balance is changed, and what are some things that you think are multiplied by the possibility of AIs?
Now, what I really like about this whole AI thing is that it fits multiple industries. So not only our digital industry where I'm working at, but for example, my girlfriend is a teacher, and she uses AI like to make her presentations with, to make funny things with for the children, which they like. And so, and of course the children are using AI as well, like ChatGPT for their essays and whatever. So normally with all those trends, like with the metaverse and AR and VR, those kind of things, it was always a bit like, I don't know, we in a digital industry knew everything about it, but if you were looking at the healthcare industry or whatever, then no one knew it, how to work with it. And this AI thing is really low key. So it really changes lots of industries now to save time. And I think save time is one of the most important things for AI. Yeah,
this is so insightful again. And I like the example you made about the education. Like before was a bit unthinkable to think I'm preparing something for my class and I will hire an illustrator to produce some illustrations for my course. It would be like, it didn't make much sense as a proposition, while now it's possible to have actually illustration that speaks to the specific of the slide, again, at a cost that is compatible with what the purpose is. So somehow it really becomes a way of doing something that wouldn't have been done before. Is not replacing anyone. Is really more possibilities and options on what you can do. And I also liked your reference to well, you can go for a stock image, but somehow again is a stock image that was done for another contest, trying to guess where it could be applicable versus something that instead speaks to the situation. And again, maybe is not as refined as final work, but again, maybe is a bit more in context than what a generic stock piece of illustration can be. And maybe, I mean, we talked quite a bit about the present state of things, and you talked about, the evolution. And I'm very curious about, for AI applied in the professional context, especially around the area of design where you work. What do you think is the evolution that these tools needs to have to really become applicable at scale? Because, for example, I tried Midjourney myself, and I think, okay, well, to use it personally is a fun tool, but I was wondering, how does teamwork come up in this picture and so on? Yeah, what do you find about these? What are some things that you would like to see in these products?
Yeah, I think lots of things should change still. So we are not there yet. Like lots of people already think that probably, but no, we are not there yet. And it's on several levels. So I think one is really practical, but that's the quality of the image. So if I look only at Midjourney, if you get that image, the resolution is not high enough to print, for example, on a big poster. You need different kind of tooling to upscale the quality, etc. So that's more work, and it would be nice if you get more higher res imagery, and not only in terms of resolution, but also in terms of realism. So, for example, when I want to make a person with a group of people on the background, the person on the foreground will be good, but people on the background will have weird faces, etc. So that should be better as well. Like, so if you want to combine multiple people together or multiple objects or products, it should work better. Also, I think you heard about it, but hands and eyes are not always going well. Yeah. So sometimes gives you 6 fingers or 4, and which is still, even in version 5 of Midjourney, is still not fixed. So of course, those little like tiny things should be fixed as well. But there are more bigger topics I think should change, and that's, for example, diversity. That's I don't know, if you, for example, type in CEO in Midjourney. I did it yesterday just to test it, and you get an Asian man in a black suit only. So it doesn't give you women, it doesn't give you other people from other countries or cultures. So that's weird. And when you did it 1 year ago, you get really like white American man in suits with a red. So that's still sad that the diversity is not in there. And of course, it's a bigger topic. I think it's for the whole internet. This is the topic, but also for Midjourney. So that should change as well. And and then there are some things about like, for example, there are now people who don't have that much work anymore because their name got used in prompts. For example, you're an illustrator and you're pretty famous. Their name is used in prompts, so they don't get the work anymore because people are creating illustrations themselves with their style. And this is also a big problem, of course. If you use brand names or artist names in your prompts, I don't know how to limit that. Maybe you have to pay the artist for that or whatever, or Midjourney should fix that. But that's the same in all the other AI tooling. You can really easily recreate another style from someone who earns money with that. Yeah, I would really recommend not to do that. But yeah, lots of people do that because, yeah, also to save time, to save money. But that's not the way how it should be, of course. And I really believe in the crafts. And so I think, yeah, some things should be fixed there as well. And then I didn't even talk about like how smart AI becomes now, and that people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates ask for a pass on AI because it's going too fast now. And they want to have restriction and rules for it. So that's even a bigger topic. But yeah, I think there's still lots to be done before we can really use this in the best way possible and respect all the artists and people.
Yeah. So as something that evolved very quick, it offers a lot of possibilities, and somehow some of these possibilities are maybe not very good thing to be in place. These producers of these technologies are looking at iterating the next iterations rather than thinking how these possibilities can be tweaked and guided. So again, they don't allow for abuse or somehow misuse of these new capabilities that come. Yeah, and from the point of view of the evolution and where you see it going, you said something in the direction of more realism and so on, but maybe from the point of view of supporting really professional work, like do you feel, as an example, currently tools like Midjourney integrate well with the rest of the toolchain that you usually use, like the other digital products? I think that there is anything that should also grow and evolve from that point of view?
Figma has there are lots of plugins for Figma which are already doing something with AI. So in that way, it really helps us in a practical way without without a problem of diversity, all those things, because you're looking more at interface, UI, etc. And I don't know, don't touch those topics. But and what I said earlier, I think as long as it's part of the process, it doesn't matter. Like if the details are not really good in a photo or something, but you use that photo just as a placeholder one because you're hired a photographer which will shoot it afterwards, then it's okay, right? But as soon as you will use it as end product, yeah, that's the problem, I think, nowadays. And then you have to be really careful and look at the details, and then probably you have to do lots of retouching and lots of editing afterwards. And so yeah, maybe when we speak each other in 1 year from now, then I will speak totally different about this topic, because yeah, it's changing fast and it improves fast, of course, but I think we are not there yet that we can use it like without a human touch, and also we need human, of course, to get the input, to get the creativity. And yeah.
Cool. And yeah, we touched a bit on all aspects regarding, you know, how you approach the topic, how you're using it, and a bit of future perspective. So maybe that's a good point to close. And I love that you refer to maybe when we talk again in 1 year, because I would love to pick up again this conversation in some time and discuss about the evolution that we're gonna see in the next months, as it's a fascinating topic. I'm impressed by your work, and yeah, very much looking forward to what's to come. So for the moment, thank you, Marten, for taking the time for this call.
Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome.
And
it was nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. And yeah, looking forward to doing this once again. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.